Former U.S. officials say Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu turned down a regional peace initiative last year that was brokered by then American Secretary of State, that is, John Kerry. Now, officials who spoke on condition of anonymity said the secret summit was held in Jordan and included Jordan's King Abdullah II and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. And during that meeting, Kerry proposed regional recognition of Israel as a Jewish state alongside a renewal of peace talks with Palestinians with the support of the Arab countries. Netanyahu rejected the offer, which would have required a significant pullout from occupied land, saying that he will not be able to garner enough support for it in his hardline coalition government. Rejection of the offer was an apparent contradiction to Netanyahu's stated goal of involving regional Arab powers in resolving Israel's conflict with Palestinians.
Right, this is a Fox News alert. A new phase in the fight for Iraq's second largest city begins. After successfully driving out Islamic State militants in the eastern part of Mosul, Iraq forces are moving west. Kitty Logan has much more on the advance. Hi, Kitty.
Hi. Well, Iraqi forces launched this very large offensive on western Mosul early this morning local time, but commanders expect this to be a tough fight, especially when they get into some of those narrow streets in the urban areas. Now, Iraqi forces went in very forcefully this morning, helicopters firing rockets as columns of armoured vehicles moved in on the ground. 100,000 Iraqi and Kurdish forces are involved in this battle overall. ISIS fighters now effectively under siege in the western part of the city. Smoke was seen rising over the southwest of Mosul after a series of coalition airstrikes on ISIS positions. U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis today confirmed U.S. forces are involved in the operation, providing key air and ground support.
The U.S. forces continue in the same role that they were in East Mosul, and the coalition forces are in support of this operation. And we will continue, as you know, with the accelerated effort to destroy ISIS.
Now, ISIS took control of Mosul in 2014, and the battle to free that city has been going on for 4 months. It has not been easy. The Iraqi army faced stiff resistance in the east of the city, which they now claim to control, but militants have continued to carry out suicide attacks there. Today, Iraqi military police led the charge to capture several villages in the south on the way into the city, most of those abandoned. The next important strategic target in that area will be the airport. But as Iraqi forces advance into the city, they face another challenge, and that is the hundreds of thousands of civilians still trapped in their homes. The UN says that these people are at extreme risk, many running low on food. Liz?
Hidden away in the hills above Fukushima, the village of Katsurao doesn't get many good days, but this is one of them. A blessing from a Shinto priest at the opening of a new rice cake factory fulfills the dream of Hisako Matsumoto. Her original family-run business had to be abandoned when they were forced to leave after the nuclear disaster 6 years ago.
I've been looking forward to this for so long, and finally it came true.
But when production starts, they will be using rice from outside the village. The local rice fields are now filled with mounds of radioactive topsoil from the surrounding area. But at least it's a sign of hope.
Less than 10% of people have moved back. I'm one of them. Gradually we are restoring more houses, so we are expecting more people this year.
Much of the area within 20 kilometers of the nuclear plant was evacuated after the disaster. Gradually over the years, people have been allowed to return to some parts as restrictions have been lifted, and it's planned that more areas will be given the all clear this spring. But the discovery of high levels of radiation in one of the damaged reactors at Fukushima is a reminder that the problem is far from resolved. Engineers have been using robots to try to precisely locate the nuclear fuel that needs to be extracted from the reactors. A robot sent into reactor number 2 recorded radiation levels that would deliver a fatal dose to a human in less than 1 minute. It was enough to kill the robot, which broke down. That's raised concerns about how and when robot technology will be ready and able to extract the fuel safely.
It's a lot harder than they thought. The radiation level is 20 times greater than expected, and the robot cannot survive in that.
Back in the village of Katsurao, people have concerns of their own. With no school, shops or clinic, it's hard for families to return, and the fear is younger people may never come back.
It's only a small start, but like the sun rising up this morning, we make progress little by little.
Hisako's hope is simply for more good days than bad. Rob McBride, Al Jazeera, Fukushima, Japan.
Hello and welcome to ILTV's Evening Update. I'm Aaron Porras here with the latest news from Israel. Israeli Navy boats fired warning shots at Palestinian fishermen yesterday after they deviated from permitted fishing zones in the Sudania area north of Gaza. The boat turned back after the warning salvo, and there were no reports of casualties. Israel allows Gazan fishermen to sail across 6 nautical miles, sometimes extending the zone to 9. Israel and Egypt maintain a security blockade on the Gaza Strip in order to prevent the terrorist group Hamas from importing more weaponry. Hamas has fired thousands of rockets into Israel, has dug attack tunnels into Israel, and waged 3 wars against the Jewish state. The Israeli branch of the Swedish furniture giant IKEA has apologized for issuing a catalog aimed at ultra-Orthodox customers containing no images of women, in keeping with the community's standards of modesty. The catalog was the first such attempt to reach out to the Haredi community, which makes up around 10% of Israel's population. The male-only catalog featuring Haredi models was published in addition to the regular brochure. Reactions to the catalog included confusion and sarcasm. A statement issued by a spokesman for IKEA in Sweden said that their brand stands for equal rights and that the publication from IKEA Israel does not live up to this. IKEA has nearly 400 stores in 48 countries worldwide, including 3 branches in Israel, and is planning to open 2 more in the next few years. Over 6,000 students in the Bedouin town of Segev Shalom boycotted class today in protest over the growing phenomenon of violence against teachers in the community. An incident on Thursday triggered the student strike when a teacher in the town was attacked by relatives of a student the teacher had removed from the classroom. The attackers waited for the teacher outside of the school, where he was badly beaten and taken to the Soroka Hospital in Beersheba, covered in bruises. Police were called to the school but took no action against the attackers and left as soon as they were dispersed. Police are now investigating the attack. The head of the parents' committee called for security guards to be placed outside of schools to prevent further violence. An education ministry spokesperson said that it treats any case of violence in schools with the utmost seriousness and is taking action against the problem. In what has become an alarming trend on campuses across North America and Europe, growing anti-Semitism in the UK has raised great concern over the increased rate of incidents. Jewish students and academic activists are demanding from university administrations to do more to fight against the rising tide. Over the past few weeks, there have been Holocaust denial leaflets left around, stickers and swastikas etched into campus property, and even a swastika with the words "Rights for Whites" had been put up on a door in the residence hall at Exeter University. All these incidents were just in the last few weeks at British universities. While some Jewish university organizations deny the allegations, former senior proctor at Oxford University, Bernice Deitch, has alleged that amongst Jewish students, there is gradually a feeling that there are certain universities that you should avoid. Indeed, a report compiled by the Community Security Trust Group shows that anti-Semitic attacks targeting either students or staff and professors on universities had doubled in 2016 from 2015. Though the universities have issued statements condemning in broad terms all racist or discriminatory behavior as unacceptable, whistleblowers are asking that more be done and soon. According to Deitch, in the 1920s and 30s, discrimination against Jews started in German, Austrian, and Polish universities, long before the Second World War. Attacks on Jewish students in universities today should be seen as the canary in the coal mine. It starts there and it spreads. A Palestinian man was arrested Saturday night for the production and sale of counterfeit Israeli entry permits to other Palestinians. According to the police report, the 31-year-old from Hebron in the West Bank was making nearly $550 per month in sales. The arrested man was caught at the summit of a 2-month investigation, which began as an inquiry into fake permits found while Palestinians tried to enter the checkpoints near Jerusalem. The suspect even supposedly gave customers tips on how to avoid suspicion at the checkpoints. Over 50,000 Palestinians are thought to enter Israel illegally daily, primarily for work, but this is already the second case of illegal border crossing to be reported in just 10 days. Earlier this month, 5 soldiers were arrested for taking bribes by Palestinians in the form of drugs and money in return for allowing them illegal entry. Military police officers are alleged to have accepted tens of thousands of shekels in the process.